It's 6:30. I'm going to call to order the public safety meeting for August 13th, 2024. Roll call, please, Kathy.
Berrigree.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Mensch.
Here.
Rolfs.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Delar.
Here.
Marcier.
Here.
Mayor. 9 present.
Okay, public comment that's not related to the JCPenney building. Not hearing any. We will go to the auxiliary report. Eric?
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
The auxiliary report, last month, July 15th, the day of the storm, myself and 3 other officers had got ourselves staged in town prior to the arrival of the storm because of its nature. We wanted to be here on site to be able to take care of anything while it was actually happening, being proactive, not reactive, so to say. Thankfully, the city did not suffer any type of damage that required anything special. Very fortunate because I know of surrounding communities and areas where hit pretty hard did suffer some damage. I'm sure I've seen something that Mr. Anderson has had posted out there with the EMA that there were some concerns, but thankfully our town was fine and that we had dismissed it all cleared. Good for that.
On that topic alone, I heard you. I was very impressed that you took a proactive approach.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you did. I was surprised, but then I was very pleased. So thank you.
Appreciate that. August 6th, we had our monthly meeting. All but one attended due to vacation. We decided to discuss the turnout of the 4th of July parade and its activities, any pros and cons. All in all, it all went pretty well. We really didn't have anything more to focus on because everyone did such a good job, thankfully. We did also discuss the needs of the upcoming Family Fest, which is the end of this month. I informed them of the expectations that the committee was looking for, assigned officers to their positions and their times. That's all been completely set, and I'm going to I made sure that the committee was aware that we are prepared for what their needs are for the particular festivity. We want to make sure the generator is good on the boat, so if we happen to get any flood waters, we can sail away without any concerns. Hopefully that will never happen. Other than that, we did not have any other emergency call-outs, and I dismissed the crew. Any questions or concerns or anything you want to bring up to me? Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
you,
you.
Eric. Now we will go to the fire department report. And Lieutenant, take it away.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
Calls for this month. We had 4 fires, 9 first responders assist, Riverside lift assists, 31 ambulance calls, 4 MVAs, 3 automatic alarms, no auto aid calls, and no mutual aid calls. We also had 3 other CO gas leak power line down calls, which gave us with a total of 57 calls for the month. Training for July, we did tower ladder operations training, forcible entry training, RIT training, which is rapid intervention training, FSVO road course. We had a couple guys and females that went through the academy that had to take the FSVO course to get their Fire 2 certification. So we went ahead and did that. We also did a walkthrough with Sheldon at the plant out there in Sheldon. We were on a mutual aid call there last year where the building exploded due a battery exploding. So we took a walk the tour of that. Also, we're looking at possibly trying to raise some money to get a Lucas CPR device. So we had a demo this last month with the rep showing how the device works and all that stuff. Nothing to report for personnel. Equipment, 2991s, basket cylinders, and outrigger cylinders are repaired. That they're all back together, and it's back in operation. As of yesterday, all the new bay doors have been installed at Station 1, so those look a lot nicer. We did participate in the 4th of July parade, also helped with the fireworks, and I believe we got best service vehicle decorations or something for the fire department. Also, we participated with all the other area fire departments at the county fair. We did a demo of an extrication on a couple vehicles out there to show the people how and what we do during a car accident and stuff like that. And then we are still doing smoke detectors installations. We did a couple of those again this month. So that wraps me up if you guys don't have any questions.
I understand you did some of the maintenance work on 2991 yourself.
That is correct. Steve Yana.
That saved a lot of the city a lot of money.
That's correct.
We
Yep.
appreciate what you did.
No problem.
Pass it.
I'll
Pass the
let
word to the
Steve know that.
People that did it.
Will do.
Any other questions?
That's it.
That it? All right. Thank you. Okay, moving on to Fire and Police Commission report. NIDA is not here, so we will move on to the Police Department report.
Evening. All eyes on me now. Numbers for the July, 445 calls for service. I gave everybody a copy of what I get from ICOM, so hopefully everybody's had a chance to look through that. Increase, it was about 100 calls more for the month of July compared to June. Most of those calls were spread out between trespassers, business checks, unknown problems, suspicious persons, and traffic stops. So, anybody got any questions about any kind of calls for service?
Thank you for the breakdown of the calls for service. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could give you more precise, but I've talked to Eric about it, and that's basically what we do unless we have to go through manually every day and tally all those things up at the PD end of it, so, which I don't think we need to spend our resources on that, so.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Better than a number. Just
Correct.
better than just a number. A number.
Miscellaneous. It was brought to our attention that they're opening bids for new squad cars for next year. So they're only, Ford and Chevy only takes orders certain times of year for the next round of squad cars. So we got a letter from the Ford dealership where we purchased the other two at, that they're only going to be open for bids or for orders for another month or two. So I know it's a little bit far off, but if it's something where we might be looking to get squad cars, we need to put our orders in now. I did talk to Jake over here at Drawley's, and he wasn't for sure exactly when their orders going to be up. So he's not for sure how long the ETA turnaround on those are going to be, because apparently next year there's going to be a different style of the Tahoes coming out if we decide to go with Tahoes. So if it's something where next year when the budget comes up and we're possibly looking at replacing squad cars, I believe that we have at least two of the squads that probably have 7 years of service on them, wear and tear, probably well over 100 and some odd thousand miles. So unless you want them to break down in the parking lot, we probably need to start thinking about getting ahead of it and at least put in the budget for one or two. So if you guys are good with at least putting an order in for one, we can put one in for Ford. And when I talked to Jake, Jake said when he was going to be ready to put his order in, he was probably just going to order 3 blindly and hope that somebody would take it. So we can gamble that one might be available at Drawley's sometime when they come in. But I don't want to be shortchanged not having any squad cars when they start breaking down. So there's nothing going on with them right now besides general maintenance. But again, the number of engine hours we have and so forth like that, they're going to start falling apart, and we're going to start having to put a lot of money into them. So if you guys have no problem with it, I'd like to get at least a straw poll or something to say, yeah, we can go for it, at least get one on order for next year.
I can't remember what we do for the budget.
We didn't put any in for this year.
That's what I thought.
None. So the Fords that we got out of last year, unfortunately, because Ford and Watsika didn't have any available, they were around 45,000, which was about the same as what the Tahoes for the government rates are. So
All I can tell the council is that we don't have it budgeted for this year.
Right. So it would be
Any.
for next year.
For next
They
year.
wouldn't be coming in until probably around April of next year.
Oh, this would be for next year?
Right, but
That's
I
the
have to
budget.
place the order now. I have to get the order in because the dealership only gets so many of them in
When you say now, is that in the next month?
within the
Just-
next month.
Okay.
So they said that at the end of the close of the third quarter.
Okay.
So I'm assuming August.
If we place an order, are we bound to
I don't think
purchasing it?
I don't think we're obligated. I think if we tell them that financial changes have taken place or hardships,
So
I
we're
think we
out-
can probably
we're-
get out of it.
We're out nothing if we agree to.
We're out nothing, and like I said, when we got these two, it was only because somebody else had backed out of these that they
Right.
were available.
No,
And when we
understood.
got these two, there was only literally 3 left at that
Right.
time, and we called it the right time. One of our aldermen was up north, and he happened to go by there, brought it to my attention, and we got him purchased, so,
I'd say as long as we don't take delivery before next May.
so,
I don't have a problem with that at all. I think we should take advantage of it. If-
yeah. I mean, that's what we need to do, so I just, like I said, I don't wanna end up leaving here and then leaving these guys shorthanded when I'm gone with no squad car, so.
Absolutely.
So we'll go ahead and make that call, at least put the order in for one, and
Don't wanna end up with a bunch of Crown Vics again.
Hey, I like those cars.
I'm sure the other officers appreciate it too, so that we're not patching cars together. Traffic enforcement detail, we did a traffic enforcement detail this past month. Pretty much everybody, all the patrol officers, patrol sergeants took place in it. I don't have the exact details. It was from 6 PM to 10 PM that evening. I think there was 30-some plus traffic stops. I guess good and bad. They got a warrant arrest and a little bit of marijuana, but that was about it. They had the dog running, and they ran the dog, and they just. But we made a presence, and we went out there, and we're showing people that we're still here and knocking on the door. So, but it was success in all of our eyes. So, just want to bring that to you guys' attention. Then I just want to touch on a couple other highlights. I guess you would say the drug arrest on Brown Street. I'm sure everybody kind of knows about that, but I just want to touch on it again. Out of that single house there, and this, just to go back a little bit, this is not a house that we were aware of that drug activity was going out of. So there's houses around town, I think people speculate there's a lot of drug activity because people coming and going out of houses. And people expect us to spend a lot of time on those particular neighborhoods or those particular houses, and we do. And unfortunately, sometimes we get in those houses more than we want to, and there's nothing in there. But it's the houses like this that are flying under the radar that we had no indication that there was drug activity going on there until we had a citizen that brought it to our attention that assisted us with being able to do our job. So this was one of those ones where it was nice, and obviously it was a lot more than what anybody expected. But out of that one particular house, the officers got 1,200 grams of cannabis marijuana, 280 grams of psychedelic mushrooms, 498 pills, which tested positive for methamphetamine, 396 pills of alprazolam, 20 containers of THC wax, 22 containers of edibles, and some white powder, which tested positive for MDMA/ecstasy. So it was one of the bigger busts that we've ever had here in Watsika. Also, just some people downplayed it because there was a lot of marijuana there. Obviously this person was packaging it, delivering it, selling it, and they also had their, I don't know how old, but their under 10-year-old child in the house present when all this was going on too. So I don't think anybody would support or be cool with that going on in somebody's house, even if it was marijuana that somebody was selling and distributing drugs in and out of their house. But I want to thank the officers that did that. They did a great job. They spent a lot of hours, probably some of them more than others, but the whole bust, I guess you would say, probably took about 8-10 hours that day, and then the follow-up paperwork and everything else was still probably another 15 to 18 hours of legwork that they did, following up, getting the search warrants returned, and meeting with the judge and so forth like that. So they did a great job, and I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of the job that they do, because they do a hell of a job. So and then another one I want to touch base on here recently, and I know it was all over, I don't do social media, but it was on Facebook about the missing juvenile. Officer Corvu spent probably about a day and a half working on that case himself, making phone calls, following up on, people have seen, they maybe don't understand what those cameras on the side of, not the ones on the street lights, but the ones on the side of the road when you come at the East Junction and West Junctions, those are flock cameras, they're license plate readers. So what those do is they don't really track this like the government watching you and so forth like that. Basically, it's got to be, you got to have a specific reason why you're gathering that information, driving license plates suspended, missing persons, so forth like that. But it's also a tool that we can use in situations like this where we have somebody that's missing or it's been kidnapped or so forth like that, if we get a basic vehicle description. So Officer Corver was able to go onto that system that we subscribed to, so say, and was able to put that information in there and was able to gather the license plate and the vehicle information off the vehicle that facilitated that youngster leaving the state of Illinois, so say. And with that information, he was able to track that person back down to, literally was able to follow almost a direct course of where they were going to based off of those cameras. So with that information, he was able to contact the Tennessee Police Department, share that information with them, and was able to go right to the house and where they were able to reunite the missing juvenile with their family. So Officer Corvo did a hell of a job there too. You know, he spent a lot of time working on that, on duty and off duty, working with the family of returning that 14-year-old girl, I believe, that 14-year-old juvenile back to their family. So hopefully, you know, again, these are some of the things that we do that people don't really see and understand what we do on a regular basis, you know, besides driving around or so forth like that. But these officers put a lot of work in behind the scenes that people don't understand and don't fully realize what they do. So again, I just want to make sure that give them the praise and the appreciation when they deserve it. So let's see. Updating ordinance. I also included with each of your box a picture of a nice campsite if you're interested in this picture. Eric was kind enough to share this with me. This is at one of our residences here in town. If I'm not mistaken, this person, this residence, just got fined last month over $4,000 on city ordinance fines. And they're still not wanting to comply to anything. Well, as you can see, that they set up a temporary / permanent tent city in their backyard. Currently, right now on the ordinance, there's nothing that pertains to a violation of what they're doing right here. So what I'm asking is that for Eric and or I to contact CanCar's office to try to fine-tune an ordinance that would pertain to this, not to isolate, not to directly inhibit people tenting in their backyard as a Boy Scout tent or something like that. Obviously, this is a permanent structure that they have moved all their belongings under and has these covers over it. I'm sure that the people in the neighborhood, some of you may have already heard from them, aren't happy with it. And when we try to explain to them that there's no ordinances on the book, you know, that pertains to this, they're getting kind of frustrated, even though Eric and I know Bill has also talked to them too, and explained to them the over $4,000 in fines just last month that they were issued. So, but if you guys are cool with it, I'm gonna talk to CanCar.
Absolutely.
Eric, talk to CanCar about trying to get something where we can try to.
It'd be like that Hickory Street thing years ago.
Well,
Yeah.
this is another one on Hickory Street.
Oh,
That is
boy.
at Hickory Street. So yeah.
Just one other note, August 8th, 2024, just to get this on the record, had a call from an anonymous citizen that wanted to compliment Chief Douglas and his staff for their kindness and helpfulness and professionalism during a recent incident. And Kathy took that call.
Thank you. The last thing I got, which I talked about it before, but we completed the tabletop meeting with IEMA, referenced the active shooter drill with the fire department and the other.
You keep saying IEMA. It's EMA.
Close enough.
I'll forgive you.
So, but that's all I got. So does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Any other questions
Thank you.
at all? Anything to add? All right.
You know what? Before I forget, I want to ask you a quick question. I've been hearing a lot on the radio, people doing foot patrols.
Yeah.
Is that just the parks, bathrooms, or is this something? What's changed? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just all of a sudden I'm hearing daily, morning, afternoon, night. What's changed? I mean, why? What's the push?
Nothing's really changed.
Okay.
I guess we're just putting it more on record, I guess.
That's
So
what I kind of expected to hear. So I know
So-
that nothing has taken place that's different, but I'm just
It's-
hearing it now.
it's what we
So-
literally do every day.
No, I know.
So-
But I'm hearing it every day, so.
I don't think the dispatchers are too happy with it because, I mean, I do care because they do work hard out there and then they have extra duty or extra responsibilities already. But but they get paid for the dispatching. I understand that. But you know they've kind of got to they've adjusted to it also.
Yeah.
So,
Sometimes the exchanges are fun.
yeah. So, but it's been a variety of different locations and
Yeah, oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
forth like that.
I'm just applauding you for doing it. That's all I was gonna say. I know something's different, but at the same time, it's good to hear. Thank you for doing it.
Mhm.
And you guys for doing it. Thank you. That's all I had, sorry.
No, that's fine. Anybody else? Anything else to add? Okay, I move to adjourn.
Still move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next on our list is code enforcement. And I'll call that meeting to order. Kathy, could I have roll call?
Anderson,
Here.
Rolfs,
Here.
Marcier,
Here.
Delar,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Cahoe, Mensch,
Here.
Baragry,
Here.
Mayor.
Here.
9 present.
Okay, under public comment, it seems like we may have a couple, 3 different ones here. Maybe we could do those not containing to the J.C. Penney's building first? And
Yeah.
then pick up it
Yeah.
after they're done? So has anybody got any comments that they want to bring forward this time? You're already.
You're
done
on
for-
the agenda.
Yeah, they're on the agenda.
Anything else? Okay, then we'll discuss J.C. Penney's building for a while.
Anybody?
Well, wait,
Well, there's other things there, Don.
look at number 4.
It's
Public comment
4E.
comes before that.
Okay.
J.C. Penney's at the bottom of the agenda.
We got
Sorry,
a long
bring
way
it
to go before there.
Well,
Thing is that we're for public comment.
Yeah.
Typically, we
No,
have it at
see?
the beginning.
says discussion with local community group. That's them.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. Well, if we're going to hold that to then we'll go to Eric Brandt.
Thanks, Don. Thanks to all the guests for attending tonight. First off is City of Watsika Multi-Jurisdictional Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan Yearly Maintenance Meeting. We're going to schedule that for September 10th at 6:30. That'll be previous to public safety. It's in the plan. We need to do yearly maintenance. I believe I give everyone a copy of our, yes, the action sheet. So this is the time if anyone wants to add the actions. You know, let me know if there's any thoughts of anything you want to add to it. We also let everyone know what we're working on, and just to let you know what we are working on page 90, acquire and remove, relocate existing structures from floodplain. We do have a grant in play. It's not been awarded yet, HMGP 4461.43. Hasn't been awarded, but it's in progress. We're working on it. And then also last month I mentioned we are updating the mitigation plan, and we've got a grant that has been not approved again, but it's under review, and it most likely will be approved. They've got money set aside specifically for mitigation planning and updating the mitigation plan. So every 5 years, it needs to be updated.
And that was one from about 3 or 4 years ago, right, that they brought back?
The update?
The grant. Wasn't that on the first brick grant that we tried for?
Correct. So the HMGP 4461.43, that was applied for in 2021. So, you know, all of these grants that we're looking at, it's a long-term thing. They really study them and pick them apart. And just going back to the HMGP 4461, right now we're hung up on one property, has been found to be eligible for historic preservation. So to take care of that and be able to demolish the house, we have to employ treatment measures to address the adverse effects, which involves hiring a photographer and a architectural expert to fill out the paperwork.
The property's not inhabited at this point. This is the property over by Glen Raymond, correct? This would be on the north. It's a big 2-story greenhouse on the corner of Mulberry and 2nd Street, northwest corner, correct?
Correct. Why it was picked, we don't know, but it's on the state list that it's been identified, so we have to address it. And it's my understanding that's a 4-month process to
get that all done, so. And then additionally, and I just want to mention, the other grant that we have in play was updating the building codes. Again, that's under review. That's most likely going to be awarded. The state's they have $2 million to update any city or town in Illinois, update their building code. So that's most likely going to be awarded. And the reasoning for that is, number one, it's going to make us more eligible for future grants. It raises our score. Building code and building code effectiveness grading is 20 to 30% of the point spread when you go to apply for a grant from FEMA. They really like up-to-date building codes due to the residency. So, you know, that's something that's going to be coming up on the radar in the future, is when that award happens, and talking about updated building codes.
Eric, when does our current plan, natural hazard mitigation plan, actually expire?
2025?
So we're within a year of,
Yeah,
we should already be in the updated process?
correct.
So now, has the city opted out of the county plan that's underway? Are we not gonna include ourselves in the plan? And you also mentioned that a grant has been awarded, or could be awarded. Is that an all-encompassing grant, or is that a matching grant?
It's a matching grant.
So
They're
in
all
other words-
75-25.
So the taxpayers would still be on the hook for the matching, the portion of it, to where if you guys were part of the county's plan, which is in process, you wouldn't have to have that expense to the taxpayers, but the same plan would encompass.
Are you talking about the update?
No, I'm talking about the new plan for the county that I've been working on, that our meeting is tomorrow night.
Correct, I'm following you.
So, I mean, you attended the first meeting. Benny has been there. We've met the requirements for what would be people attending the meetings. All it has to be is the paperwork has to be filed, but that grant's paid for, and the county's picking up that tab. And the city of Watseka could be part of that plan, and it wouldn't encompass anything different. It'd be the same type of a hazard mitigation plan. You would just be falling under the county's umbrella. And I understand the reason that the city had to do this is because the ball was dropped by my predecessor, and the city didn't, nobody in the county had it. But that's why I've started and pushed, and within a year, we'll have our own, that the county will be done and complete, and the city could be part of it. And it wouldn't cost anything more. So that's why I'm just curious to how we're gonna go forward with that.
So Scott, I agree. I mean, we can be a participant in both plans. The city having their own plan, there is no out-of-pocket. It's the same way the county's working it.
Oh, I thought you just said that there was a matching portion that the city was responsible for.
No, that's on one of the other grants.
Oh,
he's saying.
my bad.
You're all right.
He must have
It's
said wrong.
in-kind services.
So-
But I'm glad you brought it up. I mean, I would like a straw poll from the council. I agree with you 100%.
I think the
City
only
should
thing that,
participate in the county plan.
I hope so.
There's no reason not to.
yeah, I mean, as far as doing both, but keeping ours, if I understand from the person that, our consultant, that if we keep ours, that helps us with the CRS rating that we have our own individual plan.
Yeah, the same company that's doing this, that is doing the counties is the one that did for
Right.
the city. So.
I was just saying, I was just giving you a reason why to keep
Oh, no, I
the
understand.
city
And as
plan.
long as there's not, you know, an extraneous expense on the taxpayer that the county would be picking up, then, you know, of course, more the merrier. But I'm hoping that the city still participates and completes the process of going through the county's plan, so they're on both.
And if I remember on something else, you said, as far as what we have for our projects, we need to keep that separate on the city. If there's anything additional, then we could put that on the county.
I believe we could shift our projects right over to the county plan.
We could share them, I'm
That's
sure.
not
but
what I understood when I talked to you.
This is already done.
Wanna
It's
check
one of the
that,
biggest
okay.
problems, and that's gotta
Yeah.
be for tomorrow, so.
I mean, can we get a straw poll from council? I mean, I have no problem with participating in the county plan. I think it's a plus.
Yeah, we had that
I mean,
discussion before, so.
You
yeah.
know, 10 years or 5 years from now, what if the city drops the ball on the plan? They can fall
Then
back
this
on
one's
the
in
county
play.
plan.
Yeah, I
It's-
think
it's
that's
just, you know,
to be in
there's,
both.
there's no downside. There's no downside.
Well, you know my answer.
Sure.
Is everyone in agreement that we should, I know
no.
Benny's attended 2 meetings, I attended 1. Well, Scott, you're a member of
I'm
council.
separate. I
You-
can't
you're-
represent the city at those. I represent the county.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I know Benny's been there. I know you were there. Our attendance record is fulfilled. We've attended at least 2 of the 4 meetings.
Okay.
There is another one tomorrow night. So, Thursday night. Sorry, my bad. Thursday night, and I just know that the paperwork has to be completed, and this is one of the biggest portions of it. You already have it done. So I'm sure that if I were to reach out to American Environmental and say, hey, the city has shifted back, they'll get this, and I'm sure Ken Runkle would be more than willing to.
Would you like me to reach out to Andrea then and?
If you would like to reach back out and say, hey, we're going to be part of it,
Yep.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm just looking at it. It seems selfish because I'm in charge of the county's plan, but I just think that the city taxpayers, they need to have as many things as place, especially with how bad the flooding can be in this area. Why not take advantage of anything that we could have?
Double check on that project thing too, as far as if plans, the projects we have now can go on both.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Because there was something that you mentioned to me
Okay.
when we were talking about that.
You can discuss that with Andrew, and we can
Yeah, not a
get
problem.
that.
Thanks for bringing it up, Scott.
No problem. Appreciate you.
Building appearance, new construction, so we've got, Robert Tincher here tonight, 313 East Walnut. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, Pence Heritage FS, the office storage building, sustained some structural damage and it's gonna be demolished, and they're proposing to build a new building in its place. I give everyone a copy of our building appearance ordinance, formerly the no metal buildings ordinance, and, we changed it to this, you know, to where we could maybe incorporate some natural stone or brick or something else other than just only buildings. And, you know, Robert, I'm ready to turn it over to you if you're ready.
I'm here representing Heritage FS and the Pences. Basically, I've got a map, and I think you folks probably have it. You're the ones that put it in. We're a few hundred feet still in the B2. I went out and did some pictures of the area, and I brought some stuff of the building that we're proposing, and I'd like to show those to you because I think you folks are all familiar with the area. This is the building that will be taken down, and that will probably happen possibly the end of this week. So that's the
Can we pass those down the line? Can we pass those down the line?
Yeah, just pass them.
Thank
Come
you.
on, pass them down.
So that will be coming down, and then,
By the BP.
this one shows, what's existing beside that. That's the existing one. This is the one that they built just a few years back. New structure, and that's pretty much like a metal building. Okay, that's what's there now, so you folks can see. This color is not, we're matching the color of the existing Morton building that is to the east. They have, I think there's 3 lots there at this time. And what we've done is we did the same type of building, however, we've done big box overhangs, all commercial, storefront windows. They're not, this is a Clary building, it will not, have Clary windows, has commercial front doors, things of that nature. The civil engineer did not get drawings from me today. What we have, this portion of the building, the small office part, would face, 24. So that would be the north, portion. And with that being said, we have this offset. This is, 24 by 40, and that's, I think that's 64 by 40, the shop area. What we're planning on is doing landscaping area to help dress this up a little bit, but we still want it tied to the other 2 buildings. So we wanted to come to you folks and run that by you. That color does not match, however, the color that we picked out is very, very close to the same.
Is that a painted or is that like a brick facade on the
That's
shorter
just a
part?
wainscot right now at
Okay.
the bottom. And the front, since the office areas are smaller, I wanted to do 2 different elevations to make it look a little bit fancier. Then we did big box overhangs with 3 foot, on front of the building type thing. So, I know we're a few hundred feet in. I originally thought this was where B2 stopped, and it does, it goes another, the 6, which is a short block, and we're a few hundred feet short of getting out of the B2. And, before we went to a variance, Eric, why don't you just go talk to the council, show them what you're trying to do, see what you folks think, because we have no buildings on both sides of this. We're gonna dress this up nicer than those, but, we want to participate.
So am I assuming that you got the drawing done before you knew what our ordinance was about?
Well, Eric had told me before
Metal building?
we was
you say it's gonna be offices in the front part?
Yes, there's two offices, it'll probably be, Colby, Rich, and Terry in here, and, I do have the drawing for the floor plan and the truck, the full-size scale drawings, the architect got them all done, and we're really ready to go, But then I talked to Eric, and Eric explained to me, hey, wait a minute, that still falls on me, we're still, and just at Sixth Street, B goes away, we're a few hundred feet.
Well, I think the original spirit of the ordinance was where the 3 burned out lots were, that there was just gonna be a pole building like you'd see on a farm site, where this is, to me, that's a little bit dressier.
This is definitely
And,
the overhangs are expensive, but,
yeah.
and we wanna do landscape areas, and this is just something my office put on just to show you. I tried to get that for this meeting, and I don't have to landscape it. We do know we have these areas out front here, that we can landscape and dress and stuff, because there'll be an air conditioning unit sitting on one side, we want that to go away. We want it to look like a professional building, all the windows, like I say, they're, none of them are clear. They're all fixed glass.
And I think that falls into the, the spirit of how Main Street looks myself, so, yeah.
Like I say, we are off of, I thought it was Fifth Street to, like, through to the railroad tracks, and it's not. It brought to my attention, we looked at it, Sixth Street, which is just less than half a block down,
Yeah.
is where it changes.
And your parking will be on the east side of that building there?
Yes, on the east
I'm
side,
I'm assuming you're gonna be real close to the highway when you get done.
Well, it's not really, it sets back, the parking is actually back, in the section of the big building, so it is a ways away from the,
I'm at the front of the building there.
front of the building.
I know them lots aren't real deep uptown
No,
there.
this building's smaller than what we have up there. We actually set back on the front and back to back of the building. Actually, the railroad has the right of way right to the back of that building. I mean, there's not a foot of extra space in the backside.
It's close.
So it shortened up a little bit, so we do gain a little bit on the front. And the front is, this is the portion that would actually face, 24. And then they'd be parking over here, and this doesn't do it any justice, there's a lot more room here for parking. You have handicap parking there, then there's 2 rows of parking, there'll be a drive coming in, and then there's 2 rows of parking between it and the Morton building there. There's 2 entrances. So I think he had like, more space in there. So have 2 to 3 people, receptionists possibly, and Terry and Rich. So I just, instead of going other routes, as Terry thought I should explain some presentations, you guys can see what your thoughts were on us going forward with.
My opinion, I think that's gonna be a nice looking building. Again, that would go with what we're,
Both of the other buildings on that side of the street. I was thinking about it.
so, I'm good with it, but if you guys wanna do a straw poll.
I'm good.
I'm good.
We're all good.
Thank you. That's all we needed. Be in the paragraph D, taking into account conformity with other buildings on the same block. They've got metal buildings on both sides, so it's all good. I just, with the ordinance we have in place, I wanted to bring it in front of you guys and let you all know what's going on. So, thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Moving on, IDNR flood mitigation. Again, we're still waiting on the $245,000 reimbursement from the state. It was confirmed that we got caught up in the state's fiscal year, which was June, July. I've been told we should see something in August. In addition to that, not much has been going on with the grant program. I got to looking at, some of the numbers, some of the things that we hadn't been reimbursed yet. So I took everything that was left over, title commitments, appraisals. There was a couple asbestos inspections in there. It totaled up to $12,563. So I submitted for another reimbursement for that. So then that would put us at 0 when and if we see that both of those reimbursement requests.
Do you have I'm assuming you still have a list of properties that's gonna be on the new list
Absolutely.
To continue on with.
I know we do have a contract that we're working on Fiddler Court. It's got a problem with getting the mortgage company to sign off. We've had to order another appraisal on that, so, you know, I'm pretty confident that one's probably gonna happen. And then I'm gonna bring up, now 345 West North Street. That property was donated to the city. I cleared it with, IDNR, and they would reimburse us for the demolition of that structure. So that's been put out to bids, but, the time was short. I wasn't able to have them here tonight. They're gonna be on your finance committee agenda. So you'll have some, bids to approve for 345 West North. Additionally, the total that we have spent to date is $3,343,331 out of the 5.2 award. Any questions on mitigation?
Let me know when I need to call down there.
I think we'll make it. We'll be all right. Ordinance citations, 10 warnings, 5 citations. I give everyone a copy of my written record. I hope everyone could read my chicken scratch. You know, that came from PD, you know, that's how they taught me to take care of it, so, that's how I keep track of, my citations and warnings and whatnot, as far as written. Again, verbal on the phone, you know, that's just on the fly, you know, knocking on doors, driving down the street. Any questions on the citations? 306 West Oak Street, so that's been put out to bids. We received one bid, everyone's got a copy of it. Lee Farms excavation for $11,900.
Motion to accept.
Shall move.
Second.
Kathy?
Roll call.
Cahill.
Aye.
Mensch.
Aye.
Baragry.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Delar.
Aye.
Marcier.
Aye.
Rolfs.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
Mayor.
Aye.
Roll call carried.
They take everything but the grass.
Well, the tent city was brought up earlier tonight. I mean, you know, I would imagine some of those folks came out of that house, so, yeah. What are we up to? 400 East Cherry. So that demolition's complete. It's been strawed and seeded, and grass is starting to grow. Beautiful job. And now we're up to 100 West Walnut. So we've got the group here tonight in support of saving the building, obviously. But what I'm going to do is continue on with my report from last month. And we were talking about the SKS engineers that I believe we approved $2,700 to create a report. Does everyone have their copy?
Yes.
That you can look at? So he's identified 6 recommendations in there. Some are real obvious, you know, no workers on the roof during demolition. Adjacent roads and alleys need to be fenced off during demolition. The bar to the west will need to be vacated during demolition, which we already knew about that. The portion of the west wall that is to remain will need to be capped to prevent rain. We knew about that. The roof of the bar will need to be tied into the remaining portion of the wall to provide bracing currently provided by the second floor of 100 West Walnut. Design of this attachment is beyond the scope of this report. And if you go to the end of the report, there's a photo of the attic of the neighboring building, and what he's talking about is up here at the top, this roof structure is not tied to the wall. The ceiling joists are, but up here is not. So, you know, for the continuity of the wall, even beyond, you know, stabilization during demolition, but even beyond for the life of the neighboring building, there needs to be a tie-in at the top to help brace the wall of the building that we're going to demolish. So I sent an email down there and said, well, how much would it cost to design the bracing? And he came back with $5,855 to design the bracing. That's not getting the bracing done. And then the one additional, number 6, is the west wall needs to be tuck pointed below the first floor. So what that's talking about is from the crawl space floor up to the first floor, the mortar's all deteriorating and falling out of the bricks, and that needs to be tuck pointed. So I had been, Stoller was over there yesterday, and he's gonna get us some pricing on what it's gonna take to tuck point that wall and stabilize it. In addition to some other items that I gave everyone a copy of Ben Stoller's solid rock masonry estimate. There was questions on that at last month's council, I believe. The bid number 1 is $148,378. So what that is to remove a face or width of brick from the JCPenney wall, which is on the interior side now, and relay all brand new brick up that wall. Does that need to be done? I don't think so. The next one down is wire mesh and plastering the wall, you know, and he comes in at $93,000. Do we need to do that? You know, I don't think so. The next one down is just only filling the joist pockets and the door opening with bricks or concrete block, and then hoping that the remainder of the mortar is going to be in good shape. So he came in at $48,040 on that, but all of these prices included winter pricing, as this was done in October 10th, 2023. So without winter pricing, you know, that's approximately $30,000, you know. If he could do it in the summertime, he could do that for significantly less. Downside to that is he's a very busy mason in high demand, and, you know, getting him scheduled in with demolition is gonna be a real problem. So I redid your cost comparison and added quite a few more numbers on there. We had Lee Farms Excavating looked at it again. He did a detailed look at. He was at 110, 118, now he's up to 295. Reasoning for that is protecting the neighboring property roof. You know, he feels that it's gonna have to be plywooded and tired. The traffic signal box is gonna have to be protected. On the upper floor is free span trusses, you know, 50-foot long trusses, so you can't just dig into it with an excavator for fear of when the truss drops or moves, it's gonna collapse onto the neighboring structure. So there's a lot of handwork involved and lift. I put, and you guys had this already, you know, the weekly rate on having the neighboring bar closed. I've got the solid rock masonry estimates on there we just talked about. You know, the solid rock give us a price on capping the wall with concrete, $13,000. I think this could be done less with metal. I don't have a quote on that. When you read through solid rock, Ben Stoller's estimates, you know, every item that he does, he's recommending a sealer. So that's another $8,900 to seal the brick to keep the moisture out of the pores. Could we substitute paint for that? Probably, I think, yeah. I've got the structural engineer that we've already paid or approved, you know, the $27,1490. And then, you know, we've got the new engineering that we would need to continue on, which would be $5,855. Question marks, the foundation tuck pointing, obviously, I've had Ben look at it, we don't have a price yet. The roof rafter wall tie-in, you know, construction, you know, whatever that engineer designs is gonna have to be done. We don't know what he's gonna design. We don't have any idea what it's gonna cost to tie those trusses into the wall. 106 West Walnut, the roof flashing. You know, it's tied into the masonry now, but it's probably gonna have to be redone. The flashing's gonna have to be retied into the brick, you know, with the movement of the wall or with the tuck pointing repair. And then one additional item, and it's a pretty big one, is the existing plaster that's now on the interior of the west wall is gonna be exposed after demolition. All that plaster is gonna have to be chipped off, carved off, somehow removed. If we were to just leave it there, you know, the moisture is gonna deteriorate and it's gonna fall off, even if you painted over it. Any questions on all that? So then I'm gonna invite our guest up here to talk about, they're interested in, saving the JCPenney if at all possible.
Good evening.
Can you turn
Can
that
you all hear-
microphone on?
What's that?
Turn that microphone on, please.
I think it's on.
She
Is
just
it-
needs to be closer.
You gotta be closer. Yeah, just point it towards you.
Just talk louder. Yell at it.
There you go.
There you go. Yes.
My name is Juanita Muller, and I'm here to speak on behalf of citizens interested in saving the Stevens Opera House in downtown Lexington. As you can see from the many people in attendance tonight, there is a passion and a desire to preserve this important site in our history. We are a group of individuals ready to help raise funds to repair the roof and stabilize the building. We have made contact with professional agencies for possible finance support and have explored avenues for partial funding. We are asking the council to vote yes to save this historical landmark. Your support not only shows commitment to our community, but also represents your pride in what Sika's history and heritage. With your approval, we will intensify our efforts in achieving our mission to save the Opera House. With me tonight is Nicole with the Community Foundation of Kankakee River Valley. And she is going to explain how the foundation will help us with the money that we raise for this project.
Good evening.
So I was unsure that I didn't know I was going to speak tonight, so.
Oh, surprise.
No pressure.
But the Community Foundation covers both Kankakee and Iroquois counties, and Mayor, I've spoken to you in the past. And the way that we can help this group of citizens, since they are not a nonprofit themselves, we can create a fiscal sponsorship for them once our board approves that, where they can go out and retrieve donations, or people can donate directly to the Community Foundation for this project. We will be able to give those donors a tax-deductible receipt for their taxes if they so choose to get tax deductions on their tax form. And we can also actually help them acquire grants. They would be able to use our 501c3 status. There's a possibility that there could be some historic preservation grants out there that they can utilize to help with repairs and maintenance of the structure. I hope that covers what you wanted me to say. Okay, are there any questions for me?
Do they have to do anything to get set up? I mean, or do they have to do anything additional to get set up?
There would be agreements put in place, and our board would have to approve that fiscal sponsorship since they are not a 501c3 yet.
Would there have to be any agreements with the city? I mean, from their group?
Well, I don't believe so, but you do own the property, am I correct? Yes, so I
Oh.
believe that would be between you and the citizens at this point.
Thank you.
So any more from our guest?
Well, I'm gonna say the same thing that I did at the last meeting. I am opposed to tearing any building down, honestly, I am. I love that building, I have since I moved down here. But with the chair that I sit in up here right now, it's not a personal decision, it's a decision from the taxpayers and the constituents that live within my ward. And from a fiscal side, in my opinion, the liability that sits on the shoulders of the people that are here have to be taken into consideration any possibility of liability if that building were to collapse. Nobody has been able to tell us if that is the possibility. I've been in that building. I'm not an engineer. I never was. Was a fireman for 30 years, and I can tell by looking at things when some things are beyond saving. And unfortunately, my opinion is that building needs to come down because it's a liability. It's a liability to the taxpayer. It's a liability to somebody standing on the corner. It's a liability to somebody sitting in a vehicle at the traffic light. If something were to happen and that building were to collapse, the taxpayers would be responsible for not only paying the instantaneous cleanup of the fallen building, but any liability that it created as it fell. My suggestion was a couple weeks ago, the city will donate the building to whomever you want it donated to. And I know that Mayor had thrown out an $8,000 figure. I think that everybody up here would be willing to eat that $8,000 for $1. We will sign that title deed over to whomever wants it. Because that way, you've now taken the liability off of the taxpayer. And you would have the ability then to do whatever you want to save that building. But also understand that even if we follow the procedure to secure what is the property from falling, which is where we're at right now, and this can't be something that drags out for another couple of years. This was a decision, I believe, that all of us had pretty much come to the conclusion that we were ready to accept the bids from Lee Excavating and start demolition several months ago. This needs to happen very quickly. But if you guys take on the liability, if you guys take on the building, it's off of the taxpayer's shoulders. So I will say it again, and I don't think anybody up here is going to argue that point. If you're willing to take that on, we'll be more than happy to sign that title deed over. And I would make that motion right now if we had that ability. So again, I applaud every one of you for the attempts to save this building. It's a beautiful building on the outside, it really is. There's a lot of history involved with it, and I love history. But I have to look at it from what is the standpoint of my taxpayers in my ward who keep coming to me and saying, why are we beating this dead horse? And I understand that, and I have to explain to them why. So, you know, you have to look at it from what is a fiscal side as opposed to just a preservation side. Because the last thing I want to see is any historic building torn down, but there gets to a point that you just don't have a choice.
Hey, Eric, you had a couple columns here on your sheet, stabilization,
Yes.
but you didn't go through that part. What do you have as far as anything to add to the conversation?
So, you know, originally, this was on here before, the Carlisle estimate to repair or stabilize the building, that's not bringing it up to code to occupy it, $224,767. Okay, and then we already, so we've already got $4,000 invested in Carlisle to do the review and prepare a stabilization report. That's where we were at, and then to get to actual numbers that we know would take to get it stabilized, you know, get bids from contractors, have the design of the roof truss repair, you know, that was gonna cost $22,000.
And that was to put it out to bids also.
That would put it out to bids.
Okay.
The other advantage.
SKS Structural Engineers here, theirs is just design for the $5,855. That's not putting it out to bids and everything, so we would not have a final number. We'd only have their drawings, and then we still have
They would only design whatever. It's gonna take another visit down here to take a look at it, and then they'll design whatever attachment that they design.
And the 4,000 was a general, but the 22 is more specific as far as what kind of metal ends on the trusses
The
and stuff
22
like
is,
that.
gonna design the repairs, have documents to hand to potential contractors that wanna bid on the project, you know, and say, this is what we want done, how much?
And he would advertise for the
Versus
bidders?
the estimate of 224.
And
767.
so on the other side, on the demolition side, not adding the first two, because those are the first two bids from Lee. So starting at the 295, 400,000?
Correct.
Okay, adding in all those others, so we have a range between 381,800 to 482,760. Is that, I don't know, if you
Yeah,
put
I mean,
those
there-
numbers
there-
together.
there's, you know, we got 4 question marks there, and those
And-
are.
and 4
those
open
are-
items.
Those are pretty good question marks, you know.
Okay.
Peeling that plaster off, I mean, that, it's plastered right over the brick, that stuff's
I
not
think
gonna
one of the
fall
things
off.
And
that's
then on
also,
the stabilization, you're talking 224,767, and there would be some other items to add to that.
I think one of the things that's also
Right.
not being focused on here is any of the work that's proposed on these, because it's a city-owned property, must fall under prevailing wage. The city has to pay union prevailing wage. If you guys owned that property, these would be significantly lower because you're not required to pay prevailing wage. And so, you know, that's something that needs to be considered at this point. So by taking this building on yourselves, you guys could go and get these bids, and I can't say they'd be half, but I'll bet you they'd be pretty close. So, and just because you're not required to pay prevailing union wage on every single laborer that sets foot in that building. But the other part that I was gonna bring up that I missed is even if this is all stabilized and done, whether the city were to take it on, whether you were to take it on, that still doesn't include what's probably a couple $1 million at least on somebody getting inside that building to revamp the insides, to turn it into something usable. You're going to create a shell that's going to remain, and that's it. Because the inside of that building is gone. It's gone. If you want to see the pictures that I took when I walked through it, I'll be more than happy to share. I have pictures of every square inch of that, including the basement, which is full of about 6 feet of water. Maybe not 6, but close to it. So this is a project that isn't just a, you know, cheap thing. But if you want to preserve the building, you guys would be able to fiscally do it a heck of a lot cheaper than the taxpayers could. And so, again, I'll stand right by it again that says we'll be more than happy to hand you that deed. I don't think anybody will argue that up here.
It's not a popular decision by any means.
No.
And like I said in the last meeting, I'm like Scott, we don't want to take away historical value from our town. It's just that we have come to a point, and I think a majority of the council has come to that realization that this is not fiscally, responsible for us to take on for our constituents, for everyone in town to take on that cost. And so it's not like we couldn't still preserve some history. You clearly got a lot of things here that have occurred over the course of the time it's been built. It's not like we couldn't preserve those memories in another way. It's not the same as having the building. I completely understand that. But it's also at a lesser cost. And the liability is no longer on the taxpayers and the council.
I don't want to see another grass lot uptown. I understand the cost, yes.
You name it Scott Anderson's lot.
Or we could make a memorial to the building and provide historical facts on that lot and clean it up.
I understand that, but
A developer is going to be more apt to come in and grab the piece of property, which is grass, and build on it before they sink some couple $1 million into restoring what is a shell. I mean, I can't see somebody coming in. If we had more prospects, if we had people that were coming in that says, hey, look, I've seen this building. I want to do this there. I'd love to turn it into a brewery. I'd love to put the big copper kettles in there like they have in Bourbonnais. I mean, I would love to see something, but nobody's coming forward. Nobody's offering any suggestions to what could take place after the money is put out for a shell. If there was something out there different, that would be different, but there isn't. You know, I can understand, again, how everybody feels, and I'm saying the same thing. I don't want to see it torn down, but I also don't want to see my taxpayers arguing later that our street's not getting paved because this is what you're throwing money at. You know, our infrastructure across the city is crumbling. And we're potentially taking on projects like this, which take away money from what would be infrastructure.
Scott, what I think you're missing is if we can spend some money, yes, taxpayer money, to stabilize the structure, there's going to be a lot of support, non-city support, out there that's going to carry this project through. Is it going to take a year? No. It might take 20 years to make that building usable. There's going to be other organizations, there's volunteers, there's people willing right now to donate to this project.
Then give it to them.
Again,
Then give it to them.
allow them the opportunity.
Give them
to
the
take
opportunity
on
to
that
do it and save all the money.
responsibility.
It's gonna need to be a city, a combined effort between the city and
I'm not
this
saying that
group
we
out
won't
here.
support whatever they're doing. I'm just saying that we need to take the liability away from the taxpayer.
I have a question is that because we keep talking about liability, right? Is anybody could tell us that, you know, of all the assessment that we did and from the engineers, could any engineers tell us how, like, you know, how is this building? Is this building gonna fall within 3 months or 6 months or?
There's no
Well,
guarantee.
Mr. Carlisle said that.
Yeah, you remember that
the-
last month?
Yeah, last
He
month.
was, Jacob Carlisle stood right here in front of us and said that is a strong
Strong
building.
building,
The
yes.
walls are.
It's well built. You're never gonna build anything like that again today.
There is,
And he says he cannot guarantee it would come down if something, God forbid, happens. But he doesn't think it will, says it
Yeah.
should stay. It'll probably be there for a long time, but we need to do some maintenance work on it or it's not going to.
it's gonna get worse.
He said
So-
probably the roof would
You're-
fall
But we were ready
inside.
to
We're talking,
condemn it at one
we're,
point.
we're
Said
talking
that
about the brick walls and stuff.
So I think the major problem is that because we are not doing anything towards the building, it hasn't gotten worse. But the major thing is that if we are able to put some work in there, it's gonna prevent it's gonna prevent that building to, you know, get worse. And when I was looking at the money that is being put into, like, okay, for the building that to get it down, it doesn't really like much less than the money that if we're gonna put in there to, because if we demolish it, all we get is just a flat lot and then there's no liability. I feel like that's more of like, you know, because we're afraid that the building is gonna fall down and then that's why we're doing that to protect that, which I understand, you know, from the taxpayer's perspective. But if we could use those money to, because those money for the demolition is not cheap either.
It's starting to get pretty close where it might be a wash.
Yes, because
And
you know,
what they
you
say as
look
far
at,
as-
you know, how you can
sorry.
demolate it like safely in order to do that. And then why couldn't we use those money to, you know, if somebody tell me this building is gonna fall down, let's say within the however many years, like, you know, within a year, then we have no choice of doing that because it's gonna be a liability. But we think that it might fall down, and so I guess my question is that is this building gonna fall down within this time range?
Well, we're not engineers.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
This,
So
this building could stand another 50 years and not have any change to it other than the water damages currently in it right now.
yes,
We're
But on
trying
the
to
same
figure
side,
out.
it could fall down next month.
We have no.
We have
I've
no way
seen-
of knowing.
No
I've seen
guarantee.
ancient buildings with 4 walls up and no roof.
I know, but I'm just
Okay.
saying is we have to look at both sides. We can't
Yeah.
say that it
Talked
could.
about condemning the building at one point.
Correct.
The city buying it was a poor decision in
Not
the
really.
first place.
Not really.
All the mattresses that was
I understand it
inside.
got rid of mattresses, but there's other ways that we could have done that and holding people responsible. Regardless, it was a poor decision.
Well, it really
on the
wasn't because
council.
the
Now-
previous owner, if he would have liquidated all of his properties, wouldn't even come close to taking this thing down. So I want to have you see the
I
actual,
understand that.
see through that.
But we originally talked about having
The
it
poor
condemned
decision I'd have to
when he-
debate with you on, because if the city didn't do anything, nothing was gonna get done.
There were other options, I'm sure, on the legal
And
side.
what were those?
Regardless, we talked about condemning at one point. It wasn't structurally sound when we talked about it. I'm sure if we wanted to go back, we could go revisit the audio from all those meetings. The point being now is we have drugged this on for how many years?
Too long.
Too long. It is either we do A or B. We know that as a municipality, it's going to cost us more because we have to pay prevailing wage. If someone would like to take over an organization, the Historical Society, a group of individuals that wanted to come together and, again, raise money. We're talking about raising money. It's going to take time. Time that this building may not have. It's an unpopular thought.
But
You
don't
might
forget,
not like it.
the architect said that the walls are solid.
But we
that
were
if it
ready to
does-
condemn
If it
it.
does fall, it's probably gonna be the roof
Explain
falling on
to
the
me.
We didn't
inside.
know any better at the time. We've had architects and engineers to come and view the building, researched
At
it
our
and stuff like
cost,
that.
again.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, it will cost money, yeah.
I don't think that at this
If you're
point,
worried
there's
about the
changing
bricks
any
falling down,
additional.
why don't you take a ride on Metra and go into the south side of Chicago, go into the south suburbs?
They're at a
Along
difference.
there, you'll see all these brick buildings and no roofs on them, no windows in them, but the damn walls are still standing.
Okay, well,
The
good for
problem
them.
is the walls are still standing. The problem with this building is the walls are standing and there's truss across the top. If something collapses on the inside of that building, the trusses that are there are going to force the walls out.
And in those buildings,
Everybody's trying to compare this to a building without a roof. The problem is this building has a roof. And the problem is the roof supports that are in place, that if something collapses, if something comes down from the top,
Yeah.
it's going to force the walls out.
Hey, John?
And those
were you
walls
gonna
could
say
fall onto the bar next door. The walls could fall onto the street. The walls could fall onto the sidewalk. These are all possibilities. I'm not saying that it's going to happen.
something? Right.
I'm just saying that it's a possibility. And when it's a possibility, those of us that sit up here have to understand that it's the liability that comes with the possibility.
Then we better tear down about another 50% of the buildings uptown.
Hey, John, Mr. Whitman, if you wanna get up, we'll let you talk.
I think you're.
Hi, John.
John, state your name, please, for the record.
Of the Roth House.
I agree with a lot of what Scott said, and understand Jenny's concerns as well about liability in the city. There was a point where Roth House was at risk of collapsing. Under the front of the house, and this was like 10 years into owning the home, under the front of the house there was a 1-foot foundation. And the walls started to crack, they started to bow out, bricks started to fall out. I mean, you could just look at it and go, okay, this is a problem. So working with code enforcer at the time for the city, and Mason and the foundation contractor, we were able to save the house. But it took this focused effort and a sense of urgency. Like what I'm hearing, what Scott is saying is people on the private side need to have a sense of urgency and step up and help us. Because the city council's doing their part, has done their part, and now you need to. So I completely get that. It's probably a scary project for people to step into and say, yes, we want to be involved in this. I went to bed every night, got up every morning thinking about that wall. Is it going to collapse? Is today going to be the day? Now, granted, it wasn't tied in, like the way it is with this building. There's more at risk of imminent collapse. But it required that focus effort. But I just say when I bought Roth House 20 years ago, it didn't look that much different, apart from the mattresses and all the water. It didn't look that much different than what the outhouse looks like now. And I've been in there a couple times. I think it's fascinating. And I think it just takes a belief that it can be done, and people putting their minds to doing it, and getting contractors on board. I completely agree with the comments about the pricing. I heard some of the prices, and I'm like, oh my God,
Thankfully, you didn't have to pay prevailing wage.
Yeah, like you negotiate with contractors, and people wanted to see it saved, so they
Yeah.
were putting their own effort into it. I didn't need to pay somebody to spray paint. There's a lot I could do myself if I had to work. And what is it today? It's a restored home. Won a restoration award from Landmarks Illinois in 2020 for all the work. And I think, your valid concern is like, how's it gonna be used later? And I would say, just get it done, get the building restored, and that part will take care of itself. Because the way it's developed for me, it's like all these things happen that I never would have occurred to me. Short-term rentals, couples coming, people come down who know nothing about the Wet'suwet'en Wonder Story, nothing, they don't wanna hear about ghosts, they don't care about ghosts, and they just want a romantic getaway weekend in an old Victorian. There's a public for that. They love to be on the edge of the country and to be in this small town and to escape the city, to have this small town charm. People use it for music videos. There's a rap video that was filmed at the house. There's a punk rock music video by a group from Belmont, from the house not too long ago. There's another group that was just there. There was a group that came down from Chicago, and they did a musical retreat at that house for 2 weeks. They rented that house, they set up the recording equipment, asked me if people would stop mowing their lawns. I'm like, I can't control the people mow their lawns. And they used it for recording in their own creative work for 2 weeks to come up with new music. And that group was called A Friend of a Friend. So, go look it up on Spotify or whatever. But these things happen that I had no idea would happen, right? It develops in ways that I wouldn't have anticipated. And so with something like this building, I think the goal would be get it saved, get it restored enough that it can start generating income, and then let the income then pay for it after a certain period of time. So then you're not relying on people to pay for it, the city, outside donors. Like have the donation part of it, have the public and private support part of it be a limited amount of time, and then it becomes income producing and sustains itself. And I don't know, somebody had given me a copy of that report about the building and state of the building. I don't remember seeing anything that was like at risk of collapsing, that the walls were more stable than I would think when you see the bars coming in there.
I was wondering that if we could set up some type of community foundation over here that the citizen can involved with the project of since you guys all showed up for the Saving the Opera House, we can form some type of foundation that either it's we can get in private donors. And I think the most urgency right now is that because we are afraid the building to be collapsed, so why don't we prevent just that? And then we can work on it.
Well, the problem is to prevent it from collapsing, we're going to have a lot of money involved in it, invested in it. And we've spent over a year trying to get numbers and dollar amount figured out. Eric had done extensive work on getting hard numbers, either demolition or to stabilize it. We've got hard numbers in we're looking at hard numbers now, and it's pretty extensive. Several $100,000. So we have numbers. We know what it's going to cost. There is organizations out here ready to support and do what you just said, is to take it and to work it every day to try to get it a direction for support, donations, and start getting it. And this is after the city can stabilize the building. There's plenty of help out here, I think, support to
Ma'am,
get
did you
that
wanna say something
project
else?
going.
I was just going to let you know that I actually have an agreement, a pass-through agreement with the Village of Bourbonnais to take in donations for their municipality.
John, is it, can I say something about this one?
Yeah, I thought you organized that.
Well,
Go ahead.
Juanita, yeah. Okay, Thursday night, we were going to call a special meeting. We would meet here and then go over to Chatsworth. The city of Chatsworth inherited 2 buildings that was donated to them. They were gonna tear them down. They had some people that had enough forethought to reconsider and try to do something. They have rebuilt them buildings. They have them leased to an organization, what would we want to call that? Juanita? Community Connections.
Central Illinois Connection.
They leased them, I believe it was for a 30-year lease for $10. And that group is responsible for all the maintenance and all the interior work that has been done to them buildings.
Why would you?
If anybody would like to go over there and take a look at them, I'm sure they wouldn't mind if we brought a few extra people along. And that is Thursday night at 6:30. We're going to meet here, convene our meeting, and then drive over there. And I think all of us would be impressed what they have done with them buildings in the last 16 years, or excuse me, 6 years.
6
They
years.
started in 2018. They literally took the floor out of the building, went clear down to the basement, poured new concrete, new tile underneath to drain it, put new floors in, redone the whole front end and all the interior of the building. And it's really kind of amazing what they have
And
accomplished.
this was in Chatsworth, right?
In Chatsworth.
Yeah,
Downtown Chatsworth.
downtown.
How much did the city of Chatsworth spend on it?
They were going to, well, they were gonna tear it down. What's, for them, was gonna be the roof and ceiling and floors.
The estimate to
walls
tear
were
that,
gonna
the estimate to tear that building down was $30,000.
10% of what this
It's
is.
half the size, of course, the Opera House. It's a small
completely-
building.
And it was
But they
completely
weren't taking
remodeled.
down any walls. The walls were.
And it was
left.
completely remodeled.
Pardon me?
right? And it was completely remodeled.
Today?
Yeah.
Today, after 6 years, it is, yes.
Yeah. Did the city of Chatsworth spend any money on that?
They spent money on the front. They redid the front
They had,
facade,
they did facade work in the front. They put an
wheelchair ramp.
ADA wheelchair ramp with the railing. And this organization did everything else.
So who still owns that building? City or did the, now
City
the,
does. They leased it for 30 years for $10. So we're all invited. And I think it would behoove us all to go take a look. Because it's something that we could do. And instead of having an empty hole uptown, they got a nice building.
I can't remember if it was Landmarks or
Any comments?
Mr. Carlisle, but he said
You got any comments?
vacant lots and parking lots are not economic development.
Now's the time to talk.
No. I want to go back to Eric. When Lee Farms gave us a demolition estimate in 2021, it was 110. 20 months later, it was $8,500 more. Now it's $177,000 more.
So the first 2 were drive-bys. He never entered the building. The last one, he came out to the building with one of his top operators. Lauren was there with the lift, and we got up on the neighboring building. Also, we went inside and looked at the interior, and
Did we have an estimate of 118.5 from him?
from Lee,
Yeah.
Second one was.
Yeah, it was an estimate.
Yeah.
Okay. So what if we agreed with the estimate and for them to tear down the building? And then all of this other stuff started to get in there? Because now we're up to, for some reason, we went up $177,000. Seems like a lot.
Can I say something?
Come on up, Suzie.
Sure.
Come up, podium, please.
Well, I can talk real loud.
Yeah, but it's not being recorded. We need you up here for recording.
Well, I just was talking to my daughter-in-law the other day, and of course, you know, they tore down the Crescent City High School, which is a completely different thing than the building that we're looking at. But it's, they ended up spending
Well, they probably knew that it was gonna cost that much. It wasn't sprung on them.
The amount to haul that away was the larger part of that expense. And this one didn't have that, but I understand what you're saying.
And once again, the $224,000 is to stabilize the building. It's still going to be sitting there looking like a dump. So there's gonna have to be someone that's gonna have to fix this building up. This isn't a finished project at $224,000.
So the way Lee put it to me at the 295.4, if someone else comes in for less and wants to do it,
Yeah.
no problem, no problem.
I'm just throwing some stuff out there.
Because there's a giant hole in the roof.
'Cause it leaks like
and,
crazy.
And the water ends up there. I mean, it doesn't have any place to go. It won't run out anywhere. The gutter system isn't in place any longer because there's a giant hole in the roof. And as it falls in, it runs right through the building and right down the stairs and into the basement. I mean, it.
Water in the basement when the clothes basket was
Yeah,
there.
there was water. There's been water in that basement for decades. I
Was
mean,
there
not.
water in the basement recently?
I know there is. I have pictures of it when we were there last time, Don.
When was that?
I was
There's
there
been
with you.
seepage. There's a sump pump, working sump pump down there.
But it wasn't 6 foot high, because I
well-
remember walking in the basement.
No, it's not 6 foot deep.
I have a picture of it. I couldn't tell you. I didn't go
But
down there.
before I
It wasn't safe.
started the sump pump, it was about 3 inches. But one of the engineers that looked at it originally, just for a little history, for the history buffs, the building did not have a basement. That was entirely crawl space.
like,
The basement was
surprise.
dug down at a later date.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think the public can see what kind of quandary that we're in. I'm not sure that we have answered any questions.
If there's a
Or
group
we have a
of- if there's
direction.
group of people that wanna take this building on, you can have it, as far as I'm concerned. It's all
Said,
yours.
I think we're all in
Got
agreement to
business
that.
owners
But I know that
could,
when I say that, everybody's
their-
gonna go, because they're gonna realize what the money they're gonna have to put into it. It's not so fun then.
Well, I will tell you this. If an organization takes that building off of the city's shoulders, we're not gonna walk away from assisting whomever it is with doing whatever it takes to put something in it. We will go to bat for you. We will push that
But
structure,
it will be their building.
but it will be your building. But the city's not gonna stand back and say, it's theirs, let them do it all. We're still about what is development for downtown. We're still about moving businesses into vacant structures. But right now, like I've said, and I'll continue to say, the city has a major liability sitting there right now that I don't want to have to answer to the people of why. And if somebody else is willing to take that project on, you guys are all here in force, sign saying save the, then put your money where your mouth is and step forward and say, we'll take the building. And again, I don't think there is any person sitting up here right now that wouldn't agree to sign that title over. And I know Mayor threw out an $8,000 figure, but I think every one of us would be willing to even waive that. If you're willing to take that building, we will give it to you. And then we will stand behind the fact that we will push in every way possible, bring in whatever organizations need to be brought in, that once it's saved, to restore it. But we can't put that on the taxpayer's shoulders. We can't. This is a building that has got to be done by somebody else.
And it'll be a lesser cost for another
Oh, yeah.
organization
An
or
organization
entity.
is not going to pay prevailing
But,
wage.
Never speaker.
Okay?
Could you, Russell, could you lower that mic?
Is that mic on, John?
Oh, I think it's on now.
Wow.
Hello.
Thank you, John.
Hi, thank you. I have a question that I can't help. It's been running through my mind all through this. I've been hearing that the city wants to create a historic district, and also read it in an article that Carla had written. And I just can't help wondering, if you want to create a historic district, why would you want to tear down the most beautiful building, in my estimation, that exists in the whole area? And I understand what you're saying about liability, totally makes sense. But I also put my voice in that why not be a collaborative effort? Every time you say you want it, we'll give it to you. Take it, da-da, da-da, da-da. Why can't we be talking about a collaboration here? So my question is, historic district, saving some history, possibly creating more with this? If we can dig in and find out some of the backstory on the building. I found on the internet, it was a publication from 1889. A gentleman named Jeffries did a guide of opera houses, theaters, public halls in the United States. And he did many, many editions of this over the course of many years. The online book that I saw from Google Books was, like I said, published in 1889 and was the 11th edition. I also found another copy that was also the 11th edition, and it sounds like, you know, people were very interested in this at one time. The Watseka Opera House was in there, and it stated the stage size of 16 by 40. One edition said it had 300 seats. Another edition said it had 700 seats. It said there were 7 scenery, essentially flats, that they had available. An orchestra was available, and that it also listed monthly rental, 2 monthly rental, 6-month rental. Monthly rent was $6.50, which I thought was pretty interesting. But this building has history that is documented, and I know there are a lot of people that have already been digging in, but I think maybe we could find more. So what is it that we want our city to look like? It's a major connection between 65 and 57 and beyond. And when you come into town, it would be really nice to have a little bit more dressed up than just little parks, grassy areas, and benches, which I think are beautiful and wonderful. However, this could be the showplace for the city. So I'd really like to go in the direction of a collaboration of a group and the city working together. Those are my thoughts.
To your point, when Carlisle was here a couple weeks ago, I asked the question specifically in regards to what is the historic district and how would this impact. If this building was removed from our historic district plan, would it impact the plan? I was under the impression that this was the cornerstone of that plan. And according to Carlisle himself, who said, by removing this building, it will not affect the remainder of the plan. So this by no means means that we cannot go forward with what would be a planned historic district. It would just be one piece removed from what is the overall footprint.
Kind of the king piece.
Huh?
It's kind of the king.
Well, it could be.
Just.
Sure, but at the same time, it's the same way. So, and for your point of a collaborative effort, I think that that's what I'm proposing, and I think that people agree. We'll be more than happy to donate the building, let you guys go about saving it, and then the collaborative effort from the city side is to funnel as much help as you need to getting that to that point. I mean, I know what John's done with that Roth House building. That building is beautiful now, and I've seen it from the very beginning and what he's done. But you know what? He didn't have to pay prevailing wage. That's one of the biggest problems with how much this is going to cost. And if we give that building to another group, that comes out of the picture. And these dollar figures that are being thrown out here for stabilization will probably be cut in half. So that way you would have a far easier goal to reach to get it paid. And then once it's stabilized, now you can take as much time as you want. You can take as much time as you want.
Hey, Scott, if that's done and we're talking the collaborative effort, and say a group did take it on, you wouldn't be opposed if it's going to be cheaper that the city could put some money towards that?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I mean, again, this is going to be something that we're going to have to discuss, and the dollar figures are going to have to be. But I guarantee you that the monies are gonna be cheaper than what I'm guessing is gonna be, either way, by the time it's all said and done, $500,000 in taxpayer dollars to either tear it down or to restore to a point of just saving it. So if we're looking at throwing $50,000 of city money into helping to paint the outside of it to make it look pretty once it's stabilized, I'd be all for that. That's 10% of what it's gonna cost the taxpayers to sink into this for that. And then it's on you guys. So, I mean, that, if you wanna take a collaborative effort, there you go. So, yeah, I would be all for that.
How much difference is there between union and prevailing wage and union scale?
I don't honestly know. I just know that it's significantly higher. I know it's significantly higher.
Prevailing wage is based on union scale.
Well, yeah,
It should be equal, correct? The roofer has to be a licensed Illinois roofer for commercial. So where are you gonna get one? A union. The work on the roof on the top side, what was crane work or whatever, is still gonna be pretty much union scale or prevailing wage. So a lot of the work is still gonna cost you the same when it comes down to the dollars. Okay.
Well, we have dedicated a lot of time towards this, and we appreciate everyone coming. Are there any other questions or any thoughts from the council? We
Or
still
any,
have
any other
quite a
public
bit of
that would like to speak?
meeting.
Nobody else from the public?
Well, just realize that no decisions are being made at this meeting at all. So it's not like tomorrow a wrecking ball is gonna fall on it, so.
If anybody after this meeting would like to see Raw Foam to see what I've done with it over these years, I'm at the house this week, and I'd be happy to open the doors tonight and turn on the lights and let you all see it. And if you'd want to continue part of the private group conversation of what to do, I'd be happy to host and open a bottle of Prosecco.
I don't mean to kind of put you on the spot, John, but I know what you've done. I applaud you for what you've done.
Because you saw the house in the beginning.
I saw it from the very beginning, and I see what it is now. I really I want to walk through. I don't have time tonight, but I want to walk through it again just to see where it's at. I've seen the pictures. It's beautiful. Would you be willing, possibly, to maybe lead what is the group to getting this building? Do you have? I know your schedule is jam-packed. It always is.
Well,
But
it's a big project. I would like to be involved and help and encourage and yeah, help move it forward.
yeah, I think he would be one of your best assets here in the city, because I've seen what John has done firsthand, and it's beautiful. And I think that he would be one of your strongest advocates for going forward. I'd be willing to do whatever we needed to do. I will personally be part of whatever group you guys want as a liaison to the council, however it takes. Because again, I don't want to see that building come down, but I'm also, you got to understand, I have taxpayers that I have to answer to. It's not my decision, it's my taxpayers' decision. So there we go.
Okay, once again,
I'd like to ask
Thursday
Eric
night-
a question again.
Okay.
We never finished why it went to $295,000.
Thank you.
Just,
in 13 and a
just,
half months.
say that he took a good look at it.
And it changed that just because he got a better look at
And
it.
again, if someone bids less and he doesn't get the job, he would be more than happy.
What changed?
It's a delicate job.
What
So-
changed Lee Farms' estimate was the danger of taking the Traditions building down with the west wall. No.
He did.
He knew that before?
No, he didn't.
That was in there. There's a danger of the wires in the back, the Ameren wires. You know, and I brought it up in the past meeting that Ameren's willing to lean the one pole. You know, Lee is still not comfortable with that. There's the other pole with all the transformers that has a J shape to it. You know, he's not comfortable with working that close to those wires. And he wants me to go back to Ameren and see if they can set a temporary pole and then put a new pole in to replace the one that's bending over.
I've got one question.
I mean, you're up against Walnut Street. You're a two-story tall building. I think the downstairs ceilings were 12 foot and the upstairs ceilings are close to 20.
If we decide we're gonna stabilize it, are the donations able to come in towards the stabilization, or we can't use that until we get it stabilized. Does anybody know the answer to that?
If there was a what's that? We start donations to help stabilize it. Yeah, okay.
Because,
But we have to make the effort and get it started.
Well, yeah, and they've, since the last meeting, I see a whole group here, and they're already excited about it. I keep hearing about the people that are approaching Scott want it tore down, but where are they? I don't see them here tonight.
They're here.
Nobody's excited about tearing it down, and the same thing was said about that empty lot. And all of a sudden, we turned to the public and stuff was donated. I'm for saving the thing. We could spend $295,000. We could spend $295,000 for a grass lot and maybe make it look like the other empty lot. But if they can help us stabilize it, to me, it's a no-brainer. We got this many people here tonight. Next month, we get more people. They're on a roll. Let's not stop it.
Good point. Okay, so if there's nobody else on the public, then we probably need to continue with the rest of the city business. Last time, anybody else?
Okay, should we remind everyone about the meeting Thursday night? Meet here at 6:30 to go to Chatsworth and see what they've done with their buildings. Scott, we know you won't be there.
Nope. I've got another meeting.
And not because of your opposition. Sign ordinance, so this is on the agenda for August 27th. First of the meeting is going to be public hearing. It's on the zoning portion of the your ordinances, so there will be a public hearing first, and then you will vote on the sign ordinance. 433 South 6 will also be on your agenda for August 27th. That's the Gail and Melody Kokenberger. They're wanting to demolish the house and retain the use of the garage. Their property does not adjoin 433 North South 6. Their property is directly
Thank you for
across the
coming.
street on Fiddler Court.
Thank you to everyone that came, by the way. There are a lot of people leaving.
Thank you. So you have to listen to us. There's Helen.
That cleared them out.
Moving on. So the 506 East Cherry Street also is going to be on your agenda
How you doing, Cletus?
for council. And that is Lisa Kronk. She's asking for an additional building in excess of 144 square feet. She has a garage on the property now, and she's asking to add an additional building, 16 by 24, I believe. So
Can I ask your son to close the doors?
the zoning committee has approved both
Standing right
of
there.
these.
You can't see him.
813 West Franklin Street. So this property was on the IDNR flood mitigation program. We were unable to close on it because the garage adjoined with the neighboring property, 811 West Franklin. It's now fallen back to the county agent. It was on the auction. They have pulled it off the auction for us. You know, if the city could come up with the $807 or whatever they are wanting to purchase this property, Ron Davis has assured me that, yes, they would pay for the demolition at that point to take down 813 West
The DNR
Franklin.
grant.
So if we can get I believe we need a vote on that, and we'll need an ordinance for August 27th.
Okay, so we need an ordinance, and what's the property number?
813 West Franklin,
Okay, so in order to buy it, and then the DNR grant would tear it down,
correct.
would help pay it. So we need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion, we purchase 813 West Franklin Street for,
Second.
what do you say,
800 something?
it's,
I mean, do we need to include that in the motion? The amount?
Was it $797 or something
I think
like
it's
that?
807.
807?
Yeah.
Okay,
Include that in the motion then.
all right. Bear agree?
Aye.
Cahill? Miller?
Aye.
Delar?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
Rolfs?
Aye.
Mensch?
Aye.
Marcier?
Aye.
Mayor?
Aye.
Roll call carried.
And just a little side note to that, the 811 West Franklin that adjoins that property and shares the garage, that's on that alternate mitigation plan